Hi guys, welcome to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about Doctor Who because I noticed an article on the Daily Mirror website, that's a tabloid newspaper in the UK, that tweaked my interest. I saw it on Facebook, I saw some of the comments below it that seemed very confused, so I thought I would make a little video to help maybe clear up some of the confusion, I guess. The headline of the article on the website is "Row breaks out over Doctor Who Christmas episode after BBC used relative of classic character without permission." And the general gist of the article is that one of the original creators of the Brigadier, Melvin Heisman, is a little bit miffed that they used his supposed grandfather in the Twice Upon a Time Christmas special recently without asking any sort of permission. And that confused people in the comments of this article that I saw posted on Facebook as well, because lots of people were saying things like, well, hold on, it's a BBC character. So it started in Doctor Who, which is a BBC show. The BBC own Doctor Who. Why do they not? What's going on? Don't they own the Brigadier? Surely they do. And basically, not necessarily is the answer to that, because of how UK copyright law works. So I thought I would try and be a little bit informative and give you a general gist if you were a bit confused about how UK copyright law works and how television contracts differed in the 70s for writers than they may do now. Quick disclaimer, I'm no legal expert. I'm just going on the information that I have been able to gather and the information that I occasionally come across and need to use in my own professional life working in the media around copyright. But I'm not a formal lawyer. I haven't had any official legal training. I've done, a half-day copyright course at work and things like that. So I have a little bit of background that has helped inform me on this, but it's by no means definitive. However, it is a very good understanding of what the rough situation is. So while there may be specifics, please do, if you are a legal expert and you know copyright law and you know if there's anything I get wrong, please do correct me in the comments below. But this is how I understand it. So initially, what you've got to understand about UK copyright law is that the creator of any creative work owns the intellectual property for their own work that they specifically do themselves. That's the default position, regardless of if you're working for a company or whatever. If you are the one that has created it, if you can demonstrate that it is purely of your own creation, it default belongs to you. Now, nowadays, what tends to happen is that TV companies, BBC included with New Doctor Who, what they will tend to do is, when they contract writers to write episodes, one of the clauses of that contract will be that the writer is selling the rights as part of this contract to the BBC, to anything they create for that episode, which means that, Stephen Moffat doesn't own the intellectual property for the Weeping Angels, the BBC does. But back in the 1970s, they did not insert this clause into all writers' contracts. It was not the standard to do, and therefore, by default, the writers maintained the copyright, the intellectual property, for the characters that they originate. This is why the Terry Nation estate still owns the rights to the Daleks, and the BBC had to have a massive negotiation with them when they brought the series back in 2005, just so that the BBC were even allowed to use the Daleks. The BBC have to license the Daleks from the Terry Nation estate. It's also why there can be an Australian K9 kids series that has nothing to do with the BBC at all, because the BBC don't own the rights to K9. The writer that wrote the first episode with K9 in owns the rights to K9, and they decided to go and license to this Australian company to make a TV show. But that TV show can't reference anything else from Doctor Who, because they don't own the rights to anything else from Doctor Who. They haven't licensed the rights from anything else from Doctor Who, just K9. So that's why things like that happen, and that's why this situation with the Brigadier has also probably come about. So because in the 1970s, that's the way TV writing contracts were done, the intellectual property of the Brigadier resides with its creators, his creators. And theoretically, the BBC should therefore go to them if they want to bring the character back, or in the case of races, bring races back like the Daleks or K9 or anything like that. They have to go and seek permission to do that. Now, they may well, come up with a contract that lets them use them as they want for the next 10 years. That may have been what they did with the Daleks. Who knows? We don't know what happened between the Terry Nation estate and the BBC. We don't know what contract they came up with. But a contract will have been come up with. And this guy is clearly just a bit miffed that he was not approached when they wanted to introduce someone who was supposed to be the Brigadier's grandfather. So the other thing I noticed in comments is people going, well, hold on, they've used Brigadier since in New Who. He was in Sarah Jane Adventures, and he's been referenced loads of times since. They've introduced his daughter. He came back as a Cyberman. So clearly they can use him. But what we don't know is what approaches were made to Mervyn. We don't know what approaches were made to Mervyn at the time. They may well have sought and gained permission. There may have been a licensing fee put out. We don't know. We don't know what happens there. But presumably there was some kind of deal struck or permission sought in order to use those elements of the Brigadier at that time. Now the other issue is, do the BBC need to seek permission for this? It was a tiny name check. All it was, effectively, was the surname.
What's the name? Lethbridge Stewart.
A character happened to have the surname Lethbridge Stewart. It wasn't even confirmed on screen that he was the Brigadier's grandfather. That all came in an interview with Mark Gatiss. So, in terms of what was on screen, all it was a surname. As I said before, I'm no legal expert. I don't know if that would be grounds for intellectual property infringement or not, but I suspect using a surname probably isn't in itself enough to infringe copyright and infringe intellectual property. I may be wrong, but that's my suspicion. But obviously, Mervyn thinks it may be. The BBC have come out and said, the quote from the BBC, a BBC spokesman insisting the claim is without foundation, there's been no breach of copyright. And, the BBC have a lot of lawyers. I'm pretty sure they're fairly certain of that. So it's probably a big story over nothing. So why is he kicking up a fuss? Well, probably because he's got... there are a series of Lethbridge Stewart books that have come out, and in that, the Brigadier's grandfather is mentioned, and it's not the character they introduced at Christmas in the TV series. So I'm guessing he's a bit miffed that he wasn't consulted because of the conflict and the inconsistencies now between the Lethbridge Stewart books that are being published and the BBC Doctor Who TV series. Or maybe he's just miffed he wasn't asked. Who knows? Whichever it is, I'm sure it's all going to blow over relatively quickly. Look, I hope that was informative about UK copyright law and why the BBC don't automatically have the rights to use any character that's been in Doctor Who from the classic series. It's a complicated situation. I hope that helped clear it up a little bit for you if you were a bit confused. And hey, if you can add anything to this conversation, please do put it in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I'll be here with more Doctor Who videos coming up, as well as other pop culture stuff. So don't forget to like, subscribe and share and all that jazz, as I like to say. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.